Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Peace be unto each and every one of you. Today we are going to be doing something for my random Thursday, and we are going to be reacting to a story from my story animated. They have a lot of interesting that's the key word here, interesting stories that might be real and might not be real. So I'm just going to be reacting to one of them, and this one is a billionaire teenager made me his assistant. So we're going to be reacting to that, and I have not watched this video, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what I am in for. So let's dive into the video. Don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to my channel. Get me to 500 subscribers, please.
My story starts out at a glamorous place you may have heard of, McDonald's. This had to be the worst day of my life. 1 week is exactly how long I worked at McDonald's before I had a complete breakdown. I worked 12-hour shifts and never got to take my breaks. It was humiliating. And today I lost that job too. But I had to do something. I had to help my mom pay the bills. I was so angry. I had to vent. So I called my best friend.
Was saved on the phone as Dear Forever. I wish I could be that generic with the names on my phone. That would be so much better for me.
I told her how Jessica, a classmate from school, had come in for the 10th time that week with an evil look on her face. I had begged Jessica to be nice, explaining that I needed the job to help my mom. She said it was cool, but I had learned that I couldn't take her at her word. When my boss turned around, Jessica took the cup of soda I had handed her and spilled it down her shirt. She screamed and pretended that I did it. Now, my friend was as angry as me, if not more. She told me if I was serious about working, she could hook me up with a job. Her parents were super rich and offered her a job as an assistant at a giant tech company. My friend was desperate to have someone else take it so that she could spend her holidays cruising around Europe. I showed up for the interview in my best outfit. A secretary told me,
"Why are all of them wearing these awful looking glasses? I don't get it."
To sit in a crowded room and wait for my name to be called and to help myself to some refreshments. I got a cup of coffee to look mature, but as soon as I turned around, a strict and powerful looking woman appeared. She asked if I...
Yeah, with the same... Well, I don't really get why people like these glasses. I know people like to wear them, so I'm not going to roast this, but I don't like them personally. To each his own, I guess.
I was here for the interview, and I said yes. It must be her interviewing me. I was shaking so hard that I spilled coffee all over her very expensive-looking blouse. A teenager in the corner started laughing hysterically, and the woman turned as red as a tomato and looked...
Honestly, I would laugh too. I would laugh too.
Like she was about to explode. I tried to play it off and excused myself to the bathroom for a quick break. Well, it was longer than I expected because I accidentally locked myself in there. I freaked out and started crying. I tried to climb over the stall and ended up ripping my dress and messing up all my makeup. I still ran over to do the interview, but I looked like a circus clown. The lady didn't even ask me any questions, just said, "Thank you for coming," in the busy reception area and sent me home. I'd blown it. I was about to go beg McDonald's to take me back when I got the phone call telling me that I had got the job.
What?
Maybe this woman had a better sense of humor than she seemed, or maybe they were just desperate. Either way, I showed up to work bright and early the next morning. I showed up at the office and was directed to Mr. Heiko on the top floor. Mister? I guess that woman wasn't my boss after all. Not only that, but I wasn't working for just any boss, but the boss. The office on the top floor was huge. The hallway was filled with artwork that cost more than my house.
I wish artwork that was this basic is that expensive. I would take it. Just grab it. Oh, make it myself actually, and then sell it, because they said it's expensive. If artwork like this is expensive, everyone would be rich by now. Okay, just gonna point that out there.
I made it to the end of the hallway, to my new place of work. I was buzzed into the office and asked to come in. I was so nervous. I tried as hard as I could to be prepared. Let's just say nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to walk into. I walked in and saw the same teenager from the waiting room playing video games on the floor. He looked at me and got excited. I asked if I was in the right place,
So she entertained
and he said
him.
yes. I told him that I didn't understand. His response? You were hilarious. So you had your dad hire me because you think I was funny? He got very insulted. My dad? I built this company. But you're just a kid, I said. A kid? I am 16, and I am a self-made billionaire. See, he explained how he had written the computer code for a super successful app. Now he ran the entire tech company that he started his freshman year of high school. The whole time he spoke, he talked down to me as though I was some kind of idiot. Even if I was at the top of my class and 2 years older, I had to admit that he was a genius. I asked him if he was so smart and great, why had he hired someone like me? He explained that he was in need of an assistant, and I was the only interviewee that didn't bore him to death. He gave me a tour of his office, filled with video games, action figures, and soda fountains. But there was one thing that made my blood boil. There was a giant painting of Jessica hanging on the wall. Oh, that's just a picture of my girlfriend Jessica.
That's just too good to be true, honestly.
He said. She comes around occasionally. You'll get the chance to meet her. I could feel my face turning red. Just looking at her made me angry. He asked if everything was okay, but before I could answer, he spoke up again. Well, that concludes the tour. Now for your contract. I picked up the piece of paper and nearly passed out. $50 an hour? I asked. Oh, sorry. Is that not enough? He questioned, then picked up a pen and scribbled over the contract and handed it back to me. $85 an hour? That was insane.
Money.
Crazy enough that I could put up with Jessica even once in a while. Still, the level of insanity was nothing compared to the tasks he needed me to do. For the first few weeks, he literally paid me to play video games and watch movies with him. It would have been great if he wasn't so condescending. Have you ever tried watching a superhero movie with some kid complaining about how inaccurate the science was or how he could do better? It was exhausting. Didn't he have a girlfriend for this? In fact, the only good part of this was that I hardly had to see Jessica. She came by just long enough to insult me, compliment my boss, and ask for expensive gifts. It might sound like a dream job to some of you, but I'm an ambitious person. I wasn't fulfilled, and to top it all off, Jessica got under my skin one day. I was alone in his office, tidying up his video games when Jessica walked in. Without hesitation, she went into his desk and took a few $1,000s from his wallet. I told her that maybe she should ask first, but she just laughed at me. Wow, from a waitress to a babysitter, she said, looking me up and down. That's it. When he came back, I confronted him over why I was here in the first place. He didn't seem to actually need me to do anything. I told him that I needed to feel like I was actually doing something besides hanging out. He seemed disappointed, but agreed to let me take over some more assistant duties. As my first duty as your assistant, you should probably know that Jessica was taking money from your wallet. Now, any normal person would have at least been upset, but he just acted like it was all normal. In fact, he got super defensive about the entire thing. He told me that's just how relationships work, and I would know about it if I had ever been in love before. Idiot. He might have been some 16-year-old genius that ran a multi-billion-dollar company, but he was a complete idiot when it came to the real world. If he wasn't such a jerk, I would almost feel bad. Almost. I knew that rich kids were sometimes delusional, but even I was surprised by some of my new duties. Like this one time, he sent me to the grocery store for a bag of M&Ms and gave me $100. Another time, he gave me $50 to pick him up a banana from the local market. What's worse is that Jessica encouraged it. She asked him for $500 to pick up milk, and he just gave it to her. When I asked her what kind of milk cost half $1,000, she told me it was organic. It was no wonder he had no idea how much groceries cost, with Jessica lying to him for extra money. I could see why she no longer needed to take on summer jobs. What was even crazier was how much the stuff he bought himself cost. His socks alone cost $400 a pair, and he just threw them out when he was done. I asked him why he didn't just wash his clothes, and he said that it was gross to rewear socks or underwear. While these moments were almost comical, his privilege made him very annoying. He didn't understand how people were homeless or stuck with debt. I don't understand why they don't just get a job. He was so arrogant and horrible. He expected everyone to do whatever he wanted just because he threw a few bucks at them. I felt like I did a lot as his assistant, but there were countless people waiting on him day and night. The closer we got, the more I realized he had no idea how to do anything himself. I will never forget the day he asked me to tie his shoes. I kind of laughed. I asked him how he didn't know how to tie his shoes. His response, "I don't know. How were you stuck at McDonald's if you were so smart?" That was one of the moments when I was about to walk out right then and there. The same day, I applied to about 15 jobs in the area. He pulled me in for a meeting the next day. I thought he was going to apologize for his behavior. Instead, he had told me that he had told all the CEOs of the positions I had applied to not to hire me. I was so upset. He forced me to choose between here or McDonald's. He was so lucky I was desperate for money. He knew he controlled me with it. One day, Jessica came by with a whole stack of papers and whispered something to him. He looked pretty upset, but just hugged her and came over to me. He offered me $5,000 to work for a couple of hours on my day off. It wasn't so out of the ordinary. This was the same guy who paid me $400 to test his pens and $1,000 to use my umbrella since he forgot his. Of course, I agreed. Right after dinner, I drove off to the location he gave me. I was expecting an office or something, but it was a mansion. His mansion. I was pretty excited to see the inside of it, but it almost broke my heart when I saw what I was there for. There was a cake and balloons, but just the two of us. Apparently, both of his parents had forgotten it was his birthday and went on a trip to the Bahamas. He didn't want to be left alone, and I was his best friend. I asked him about Jessica, but he explained that she had ditched him last minute. He said it was a family emergency again, that her grandmother was in the hospital. Sad story I would feel super bad about if I hadn't checked Jessica's Instagram earlier.
Really?
She was in Disneyland and wasn't even trying to hide it. She came by to drop off her homework for him to do while she went away for a week to spend time with her grandmother. Turns out, this happened every year. They had never spent a birthday or holiday together. Not only that, but he did all of her homework. I saw how she managed to keep her grades up. I don't know if I made the right decision, but I decided not to show him the photos. He was already sad enough. Instead, I decided that from here on out, we would actually be friends, and I would teach him how to tell when people were using him. The next day, I showed up with a bag of M&Ms as a belated birthday gift. I apologized that I couldn't afford anything spectacular. He just cried. He really did look so grown up in his fancy suits and expensive cars. But seeing him cry over M&Ms made him look like such a child. I took him under my wing as my little brother. He was just a kid right now and needed my protection. I introduced him to some of my friends so he could interact with people under the age of 65. He was super excited to have something close to friends for the first time in his life. But that also made him very vulnerable and made sure that he kept his wealth a secret and to hang out with people like a normal kid. He seemed to love it, but everything changed one night. See, he was hanging out with my friends and me when Jessica came back from her grandmother's, aka Disneyland. We were having fun, but after he had set down his phone for an hour, he had 35 missed calls and over 100 texts. Apparently, while he was busy having fun with us, he had forgotten to submit one of her summer assignments. She was livid. Even though I tried to tell him he did nothing wrong, he looked really sad and left early. I was going to ask him about everything the next day at work, but he texted me to not come in. After a week of asking me not to show up, I took matters into my own hands. I walked right up to the office and right in the middle of a fight between him and Jessica. When I walked in, she immediately asked what I was doing there. I thought I told you to fire her. She's a bad influence, she shouted. My boss looked so uncomfortable and said he didn't want to fire me. So she walked out, leaving my boss and me all alone. Again, he sat there and cried. There were a lot of tears over the next few days, and I did whatever I could to comfort him, even when I was off the clock. I made him promise never to take her back because she was using him. He agreed, but then ruined everything in an instant. He leaned in and tried to kiss me. I pushed him away and told him I only thought of him as a little brother. He looked so embarrassed. I let myself out and did not come back. Luckily, I had saved enough money to earn myself a shopping spree. I was out downtown when I saw them. My worst nightmare. He and Jessica were walking along the street,
so
him holding tons of bags from Gucci and her yelling at him. She said how pathetic he was and how she could always do better. I thought about ignoring it, but it was like watching a witch harass my own brother. I ran up to them and yelled at her for being such a jerk. I said how she should consider herself lucky that anyone puts up with her, let alone a great guy like my friend. She told him to defend her, but even I was shocked by what happened next. He told her to leave. She told him that he would regret it and stomped off. She tried to take the Gucci bags from him, but he handed them to me instead. He thanked me again and then did something that kind of irritated me. He handed me a check for $100,000 as a thank you. I ripped it up in front of him. "Don't you get it?" he said. "If you don't want to date me and don't want my money, why are you so nice to me?" "Because you're my best friend." He almost cried right there. I don't think he had ever been that happy before. You would never believe what happened next. He fired me. But it's not what you think at all. See, he decided to help me with my studies, so one day I could join him. I invited him to dinner at my home. Some home cooking would do wonders for him, I'm sure. As happy as I was to see him being a kid, it was quite an ordeal to talk him out of an expensive gift for my mom. He had a long way to go, but he learned. Now, years later, we are 50-50 partners. He is all the brain, and that's where I come in, managing our business. We are the best of both worlds, and our business is thriving.
Okay, I think that's the end. So if you'd like to watch this video on their channel, I'm going to be linking it down below. And also, if you enjoyed me reacting to this, don't forget to subscribe and also comment what you think of my reaction videos, if you would like to see more or not. And also, don't forget to click the bell so you don't miss whenever I post. You'll be notified like in an instant if YouTube wills it. And also don't forget to follow me on all my socials, which should be down in the description as well. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one, which will be Makeup Monday. Bye guys.